As individuals, we are strong, but as a community, we are powerful.
Tell me what you need, and I'll do what I can.
Who are we? MSI. Who are we? MSI. Who are we? MSI. 3, 2, 1. What's up, familia? You already know this is Alan Ruelas. We are in season 2 of Get Going with MSI. None other than we are taking the moment to appreciate an individual. We're starting strong, similar to last season and the previous season. You know, we had Steve Santana and everything in between. Now we have...
My name is Ethan Hoffman, and I am the new Administrative Support Coordinator for MSI.
And I say this because this is a great opportunity for everyone to ask questions and everything in between, but more so to get to know who Ethan is as an individual, joining the MSI family. I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to just get a better lens of who Ethan is. So, Ethan, how are you doing today?
You know, I'm doing fine. I sat in an hour and 15 minutes of traffic, but I know you sat in it for longer. So, relatively speaking, I'm doing better than you.
Yes, and this is the irony of everything. I stayed 2 hours in traffic. And I went through the canyons, through the streets, and on the highway. And I almost got into 3 car accidents. And I said because that's a typical day in Los Angeles, I would say. Living it up, woo woo. Drive safely, y'all. We want to make sure y'all get here. But yes, traffic is crazy, and I do agree. Now, moving forward, talk to me about your dunking drink. What did you get?
So I got I'm trying to remember what I got. It was an iced macchiato with 2 pumps of butter pecan.
Okay.
Yeah.
I used to be a barista, so I got you. Nothing too crazy, nothing too simple.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's jump into the good stuff. MSI. First of all, what does it mean to you? You know, MSI. And then also, how has that transition been?
Right. So my experience with higher ed, I went to college and undergrad myself, and I graduated, and I started as an honors program coordinator, and then eventually worked my way into a degree auditor. And so during my time as an honors program coordinator, I worked with a specific population of students, kind of similar to MSI in terms of population. And it was more interpersonal. I got feedback from the students, and I applied it to the work that I was doing. And I really did love that role, but it was part-time, and I was looking for something more full-time. And so I transitioned into being a degree auditor, which is, I was sort of the final layer between you receiving your degree or not. So for some of you, the hero, for some of you, the villain. But that was a pretty serious role, because I would report you to the government, and that would allow you the opportunities that come with having a degree completed, but it would also come with the fact of I'm telling the government that you are going to pay loans soon. So it was kind of a difficult situation for me, not so much that the work was hard, but because it lacked that interpersonality. I worked with hundreds of students auditing their degrees, and there wasn't as much personal touch that comes with that. But that is what the position demands, and I don't think there is room for that in that space. I just knew that it wasn't what I wanted. Yeah. So when I knew that I wanted to continue my career in higher education, I knew that I wanted to go back to working with students, and do something that was not just so limited. Working with students that I saw myself in as well, and particularly working with students that have been disadvantaged by institutions through historically. So when I found MSI, it was really motivated to me because it spoke to my own personal experience, and I knew that it was something that I could get passionate about. I wanted to come to work every day and be excited to do the work that I was going to do. So, yeah.
I feel like I do a very good job in welcoming Ethan every morning with so much energy, and I'm hoping that that's the student-to-student engagement that you were looking for. But I say that because, you know, I think are literally, something that I was literally looking for, something along the lines of like a mentor or someone to like speak about specific topics. We have an ongoing project, specifically student-led and everything in between about, MSI Pride Talks, right? And I say that because the opportunity for us to then, as brothers and sisters and everyone in between, to have these conversations about identity and what that means, Ethan, talk to us a little bit about MSI Pride Talks.
So Pride Talks is an initiative that you approached me with of wanting to empower students within the LGBTQ plus community and have specific conversations about how different aspects of identity, like race, ethnicity, and culture, and how that intersects with identity as queer people. And so I was excited about this. This is a topic that I'm personally motivated to talk about. And I wanted to give students the space, a safe space to come together and have these discussions and come together as sort of scholars, MSI scholars, and enter the same space of looking for more information, coming together for the opportunity to learn and not necessarily get definite answers, but sort of gain vocabulary and gain understandings that, one, set them on the path of what they want to go, but also give them the opportunity to connect and protect each other with knowledge.
I think that is one of the most resourceful conversations I've had in a minute. Even speaking with Ethan, I learned, right, that a conversation specifically more so, there's different outcomes, right? But the overarching one is that, once you do have a conversation, it builds off of more conversations. So it doesn't necessarily stop there, right? So I say that because, upon taking this initiative, the willingness and the drive is there. And I think that for our brothers and sisters, that's something to look forward to. They are happening each Wednesday for the fall semester of 2023 from 12 to 1. And I say that because everyone and everybody is welcome to attend. These conversations are more so an approach from a student to then have and echo what then is being lived, right? At least my identity for me, everyone, and this is the moment to practice a little, you know what I mean? Get a little bit of exposure when it comes down to what I bring to the table and why I'm so passionate about MSI Pride Talks and MSI as a whole, right? And then having someone to work with, such as Ethan, very gifted, by the way. I say that because, I'm Mexican-American, better known as Chican X, Chicano, and I say that because within the spectrum of the LGBTQ plus community, I fall into the B, and I say that because to me, it's very much empowering to then understand pronouns, to understand what it means to interact with other individuals, and then also understanding the power of having safe space and the liberty of expressing yourself, about your experiences. And they're not always intended to have traumatic tones, right? It's more so about liberating yourself and having the ability to really just showcase who you are and having the respect that you need within a work environment, having the respect that you need as an individual out in the real world and then within higher education. So I think that that's for me very important. I'm learning, y'all, so this is cool. And Ethan, how about yourself? If you would like to share with us.
Yeah, so these conversations are particularly personally, I have a personal investment in them. I came from a very conservative religious background that I don't necessarily identify with to this day. I think in terms of verbiage, I'm still learning things about myself and finding out where I stand within my own experience, but I would say queer is a good identifier for me in terms of, orientation and gender. But there's so many experiences and it's so layered. You brought up the facet that we don't want to just define queer experience through a traumatic lens. And I think that's really important, and that's a personal initiative for me because we as queer people aren't given the sort of example to explain or sort of relate our experiences beyond sort of asking for empathy or sympathy within certain respects, and then that's how we identify. But there's a lot more to that experience, especially if you are living your existence as a means of trying to constantly explain it. I don't think you get to experience it as holistically as you should be. And so that is my hope for these conversations to come out, is that for as much learning and as much vocabulary that we are going to gain, that it's not inhibiting anybody from living a life that they want to live.
Yeah, and I think that it just goes to show, at least the approach that I see for MSI Pride Talks is that, you know, brothers and sisters are welcome to listen in and also learn and engage, right? It's a safe space, so thank you, Ethan. Now moving forward to, you know, something that I've learned, right? You know, earlier within the semester, we just started. A couple of days back, you know, I was like, Ethan, can you help me with this specifically? You know, looking into specific classes and everything. But I say that because my college experience, this is my last year. My last year to make it, you know, the most spectacular or the most to get out of, right? And I say this because a lot of our brothers and sisters are in a similar position, right? They're graduating and everything. But I'm curious, Ethan, how was your final year, or how was your college experience?
Ooh, this was a rough one, because my final year, I mean, you can contextualize what happened. My final year was 2019 to 2020.
Oh.
So
and we stop.
For context, I was an English writing major, and I felt pretty prepared going into it. I had taken a lot of the right classes because I had printed off we call it the bulletin, our academic bulletin for my particular year, and I was just going in and highlighting all of the courses that I need. So I actually finished a lot of my hard requirements, and my whole senior year was just classes that I wanted to take so I could meet my units. And additionally, I was in the honors program, and our final projects that we have to do is sort of an independent study thesis that we create. And so I was able to like finagle my program where my entire last quarter, because we were in the quarter system, and spring was just all units of independent study. So I didn't have a structure in place. And my plan was, I was the editor-in-chief of my school newspaper, I was the editor of our literary journal, and I was the president of the honors program. So I was a little bit of a higher achiever, and I really thought, okay, this is my moment, like this is my launching pad. And then COVID hit right at the beginning of the semester, and all of the internships that I was applying for shut down. I was submitting pieces, writing pieces for publishing opportunities, and the news shifted. I was no longer... What I wrote was relevant, but the news cycle had moved away. So I was sort of in a rough patch where I had an entire quarter of unstructured thesis and virtually no opportunity because every industry had shut down. Yeah. And so I was in like a really rough spot right at the final quarter of my undergraduate experience that was supposed to be a launching pad. And I think I still kind of like recovering from the disappointment with that.
I could relate to what you're saying. So this is why you're speaking to my ears. So continue.
So instead of being down about it, I've channeled my energy into making sure that like because a lot of what I was doing was so like self-motivated and alone, and I wasn't connected to a lot of other communities. So I was dealing with the disappointment alone because not a lot of people were aware of it. I do have a tendency, and I think a lot of us might have the tendency to not share things until they're completed because we feel like maybe we don't have the opportunity to speak on moments until they're completely settled. And so I was waiting until like I had gotten the jobs or I had been published to even share that I was interested in it, because of whatever reason I just wanted to like be that guy. I think
Beyonce says a quote, you work on it slowly, don't let everybody know. Everything. I think it's a work ethic.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's also like a thing of like not wanting other people to see you struggle through it, and just wanting to see the final project. But with that, I didn't feel comfortable like relating so much, and so I had for my last quarter, I was in complete isolation. I was living alone in the dorms because I'm from Guam originally, and so I was like kind of an international student, even though I'm a U.S. citizen. So I was living isolated in the dorms, literally, because it was in isolation times. And I had no classmates because I didn't have... It was completely independent study. Yeah. So I had like 3 months at the beginning of lockdown where I like literally talked to no one.
Yeah. How did you then... I mean, I don't mean to go back to COVID times, y'all. How did you cope within those 3 months outside of academia and fulfilling your endeavors, you as an individual? You know, what did you do to like keep yourself on your day-to-day? Yeah, so something that I do is journaling. This is a habit that I copied from a friend who's actually very good at it. Her name is Holly. Oh, I thought you said Taylor Swift. I was like, oh my god.
Gross. Not gross. Edit that out. Edit.
We're keeping it. I'm just saying. Continue.
So my friend Holly, she's actually really great at journaling, and she like makes it like a creation in and of itself. She'll journal and incorporate like little drawings of her experiences and things that she's interested in within the text, so that she has something to look back at and sort of like she remembers the experiences of the life because she has the doodles next to it, but it's also she feels like, wow, I created something. I wasn't doing all of the drawing aspects at that point. I was mainly just like opening my journal and being like, wow, I hate it here. And everything is awful. But I think that was healing in its own sense. It's a habit that I keep up today. I do it sporadically. I don't journal every day, just for the sake of not making it a chore. I want to, every time that I come to journaling, it's because I'm feeling like, oh, I'm kind of missing it. Like I haven't done it in like a little bit, and I do have stuff to get out. Wow,
I'm learning a lot. I like that. It's very cool. So outside of journaling, right? I think you dropped your cell phone, Ethan.
Sorry.
Outside of journaling, I mean, just 2 more, because I think that these are very useful, not only for myself, but for other brothers and sisters. Maybe looking to, you know, either de-stress or pick up a hobby, or maybe potentially just find an outlet, right? As y'all know, I'm going to plug MSI. MSI offers MSI caps. It's a partnership. We have a liaison by the name of Naji. And then we also offer tutoring for math with Tram. And I said because all of those are a QR code away, a scan. And outside of that, we have our lounge and our hours from Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. But back to you, Ethan. Whether it's 1 or 2, what other, you know, hobbies specifically do you then, you know, use to maybe provide an outlet for it?
Right. So I'm a pretty big reader, especially being like an English grad.
We have the MSI library now. Yeah, we have that. So back to reading. Yes.
I mean, the text will probably be mirrored, but this is the list of books that I've read just in my own time that we happen to have in the library space. So if you're around and if you're curious for a recommendation, you can ask me about any of these books and I'll try to remember what they're about. But yeah, so I think reading is a great hobby to have because it kind of demands something from you. We have this conversation a lot because he doesn't read.
Yeah, I tend to read when it's necessary. But then, for instance, for context, y'all, because Ethan loves to just, you know, echo that. I say that because I grew up in an athletic household, but for me, my attention span is the size of a goldfish. So I say that because I'm really big on social media, creating arts and music, but my attention span when it comes to literature, I have to either be highly motivated or on a deadline to be engaged in literature. Mm-hmm. So I know that there are some brothers and sisters who might be in a similar pool. And I say that because there are those like yourselves and Diego who love to read. In fact, I applaud it because, there are strengths and then there are things that then you need to learn to then become stronger at, in this case, me, to enjoy reading. All right. So, yes. But what were you saying?
Back to what I was saying.
Okay, how about this? How are you then? How do you practice reading?
Right.
Yes.
So reading is also something that you have to be gentle with yourself with. I give you a hard time and I give people a hard time because I think it's funny. But reading does demand a lot from you. It's not something that you can multitask while you're doing, especially if you're somebody who gets distracted easily. I know that I get distracted easily. And I'll pull out my phone sometimes, and then without even realizing that I'm not, I've stopped reading, or if I go to a coffee shop and I'm reading and there's too much noise in there, and I'll get a little overstimulated and I can't follow along. So being kind to yourself, because those things happen to everyone. If there is like a choice between reading and not reading, it is way easier to not read. Like, that's just default. But I think reading is a useful skill to develop, because when you're obtaining content and you're actually like having to work for it, in a sense, in the way that like a movie or audio can rush past you without you understanding it, you set your own pace with reading. Of course, you could breeze past a sentence without understanding it. But if you can't read a whole book like that and feel satisfied, especially if you're just doing it for pleasure or leisure. So for the purposes of like obtaining information and sitting with it, especially like people's life experiences and all of this stuff, when you're putting in that labor to understand it and setting aside time, a lot of time, because reading is not as fast as other forms of intaking media. I think you really have to sit in with concepts and ideas and empathy, particularly, in a way that you can approach with other forms of media. But I think there's something specific about reading.
I remember my high school teacher, shout out to Mrs. Lindsay. She was a big advocate on my end because, I was doing athleticism, and she had a couple athletes in her room. And it was such a mission to drill time to even consider reading. So I said that because every now and then in a blue moon, similar to what you were saying about journaling, I will pick up a book to read, and then I find myself back on TikTok. But that only, to me, echoes a good skill, right, that you just shared with us. I think is very valuable, and I think that individuals who are then in the pursuit to be able to be skillful readers, I'm assuming, or in this case, be able to express themselves through journaling, are two good hobbies to then acquire or continue and pick up, right? So, Ethan, specifically walking into what fall looks like, what do you anticipate for the brothers and sisters? I
anticipate opportunities to make your voices heard. I know that I have an open door policy, and
nice.
I'm busy. You're gonna see me a lot, like glaring at my computer. However, I want to talk to you. It is more fun to talk to you than to, emailing with IT or whatever. Not that it's, so bad to do all of this stuff, but I'm here to be a service to you. So stop by. Let me know what you're going through. Let me know if I can support you in any way. you approached me with this initiative for the Pride Talks. If you are interested in creating your own group and having staff support, definitely let me know. I can talk with Jeanette or Rodney or Felipe, our new director, and see what's available for you and how the program can best support you.
I think that is fabulous, at least for me, looking into these resources and everything. I really wanted to echo the time to really appreciate Ethan formally. More of a casual gal. So I say that because every experience that I have to be able to talk with Ethan, whether it's pop culture, whether it's higher education, whether it's understanding new skills, right? I think that it's important for the brothers and sisters to be able to know who Ethan is, right? Because occasionally, as he had mentioned earlier, there is going to be a lot of work and you're going to be busy. And similar to other brothers and sisters, whether it's school, work, because everybody commutes, everybody works, that is an experience that sometimes limit us to then have connections, right? And obviously we have our brother-to-brother gatherings, which I have a question for you as well. How was your experience for the brother-to-brother gatherings, your first one?
I thought it was really great. My favorite part was the exercise that Jeanette did in relation to the I Am From poem that she had picked up from her USC courses. I know that, shocking, the English grad was really interested in the poem segment, but I thought it was so great that so many brothers were willing to share their experiences and, give us an introduction into themselves. I'm sure they were more familiar with each other than I was with them, but as my first introduction to the brother-to-brother gatherings, I thought that was really significant for me.
I thought so as well. I shared a poem. Did you write a poem?
I did.
How long was it?
I mean, I filled the page.
Felt nice.
Yeah.
Well, I would hope so. A lot of things to write in there. Every now and then, I do want to say that whether you all are looking for someone to talk to, right? We have Najee, we have Hyder, we have Rodney, you have the MSI leaders, right? And I say that because this is a resource for everyone available on campus, specifically more so whether you're first gen, a transfer student, international student. I say that because I'm walking on campus every day, and I think that it's a good initiative to then start practicing maybe this person, whether it's not me or if it's, Ethan or if it's someone else, to really start asking questions and then have a sense of belonging, right, with an MSI. I think my last question leading up to this interview, Ethan, is what is a fun fact about yourself? And I really formally want to ask about music. And I said it because I gotcha. I'm telling y'all right now, let's give Ethan the time to talk about this because I then need to then listen because I want to now. Here's the time, Ethan. Tell us music.
So I love playing piano. I have a musician for a father. He's a guitarist, but for some reason, guitar was something I could never pick up. I had the opportunity when I was younger to take piano lessons. My piano teacher was a missionary, and so she had completed her time doing her mission, I guess. I don't think her mission was done because I still needed to learn piano, but I guess she was over it. So she left.
Yeah,
I only have one.
So funny, it's too funny.
She should have stayed and finished the mission because I still don't know how to play piano like that. But I fell in love with it, even just with the year that we did have together. And she was great, and it's a hobby that I've kept up within myself. Do I wish I could have had more formal training? Yes, but I think approaching it with my own discipline and my own interest for years since 5th grade has shown that it's something that's important to me. And I also want to give you guys that message of you don't need formal training to pursue your interests. You don't need to have a complete project in mind in order to initiate something. So.
Well, I'm happy that you shared with us that because I think that is a good insight as to who you are. I think that musically speaking, I would hope to hear more. Now I'm in tune because you actually know, like, you know, certain areas. And I think that also is a fabulous message for those listening. Sometimes imposter syndrome is a very big thing, whether it's music, whether it's a career path, whatever it is. And, you know, at least for me, I think that I'm very happy with getting to know you, Ethan. And I hope that other brothers and sisters take time to get to know you, and vice versa, you get to know them. Mm-hmm. And we welcome you to MSI. Wholeheartedly speaking, as an individual, as a brother, thank you. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to working with you and everything else in between. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. Well, first of all, congratulations on your final year and all of your achievements with your different
Say less.
Involvement around campus.
Okay.
Outside of what I know, what is a goal, either professionally or personally, for your final year?
Man, you just wanted to hit the... All right, Jan, this is where I lay down all my plans and projects, you know? I think that for me, realistically speaking, it has to be family and progressing as an individual. So I'm very connected with my family. You know, what that means specifically more so is not a lot of it is like, oh, I just get home. But I mean, I need to then work as a young man of color to then support my family. So this year, I have a lot of responsibilities. Yes, I'm burning both ends of the candle. What is that saying?
That's the same.
Oh, okay. But I'm doing it for a reason. I'm doing it for myself, but also because my family is there. And I said because I want to make sure that as I'm finishing my last year to pursue higher education, being first gen and everything, to allow myself to move out, right? Because I work and support, but also give my parents and my family the space that they need as a couple and as a brother with their family, and me as a individual pursuing my career in my own place with my friends, right? Not during COVID, more so the idea of really grasping independence and then transitioning over to something that is fulfilling. It takes care of my mental health because we got to make sure we're doing good, you know? And then applying ourselves, in this case me, to it's very important to really echo having a support group. So yes, I have my family, but I also want to create another family with friends, mentors, and really have that year to myself. So currently working a lot. So that's what I'm looking forward to this year. Career-wise, I'll set up a one-on-one with you so we could then discuss about this lovely matter. All right, everyone. Well, that was episode number 1 of season 3. I hope you all enjoyed this much. Hope you all enjoyed this as much as I did. I definitely think that Ethan Hoffman is an example to a lot of individuals here. So, Ethan, thank you for taking time to make this happen. And any last quote that you want to leave anyone with?
Well, actually, so I keep a little quote of the week on my whiteboard, if you want to check it out. So the quote of this week is, "It is not true that people stop pursuing dreams because they grow old. They grow old because they stop pursuing dreams." And that's from Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So
nice. Well, we'll see y'all soon and take care, everybody. Bye.